Hey guys, this is James from Kirra Point Surf School, and today we're going to give you some tips as an instructor for beginner surfers who are unconfident or unfit. Remember, the most important thing to have in lessons is a confident and comfortable student. Without confidence or that comfortability in the water, the people may not ever want to surf again, and that's where these tips are going to be extremely important. I usually start by having control of the surfboard, and when the water gets deep enough, I'll get the student to jump onto the board and drag them out, giving them clear instructions on what they should be doing when we're going through the waves. When it's a little wave with white water, pushing your hands up so no water goes in your face, and also ducking your head going through some of these steeper waves. Now, this is something we want to avoid, the nosedive. Luckily, Marley nominated himself as the nosedive guinea pig. Here's another really bad one. And even though Marley was quite a confident surfer, he was actually a little bit shaken up by that last nosedive. If a student nosedives more than twice in one lesson with one instructor, that can really break their trust with that instructor and also ruin their confidence. If you find that you've made a kid or any student nosedive more than a couple of times, it's time to reassess the waves that you're selecting and also implement this really important technique, which we call the bodyboard technique. Feet on the ground in the water, boost yourself forward, and I usually rest my elbows on the board, provide weight on the back of the board to avoid a nosedive, and then give them a little bit of guidance and balance if they're tipping from side to side. It's a really, really good technique for unconfident kids. And for some kids who are really young and I can tell are a little bit scared in the water, I actually won't let them go. So I'll ride the wave all the way to shore and I will put them on the beach with the parent if they need to. Look how I get a lot of weight at the back of the board here because this wave was a little bit steeper. Now, if Marley was an unconfident kid and I had another kid interested to get into the water or get into a wave, I would go and drop him off at their parents and come back and get them when it's their turn. That way we avoid any unnecessary wipeouts, and the more you work in surf instructing, the more you will realize that one bad wipeout can actually ruin an entire session. I've had students sometimes leaving the session after one bad wipeout and not even completing a single ride, which is what we really want to avoid as a quality surf school. The bodyboard technique can also be utilized for adults to avoid dumpy waves or nosedives and also provide balance to students who are struggling to pop up. Just like the younger students, a bad wipeout can really spook an adult, which is what we want to avoid entirely for both kids and adults. Here's another good example of me avoiding a nosedive by providing the right amount of weight at the back of the board. Let's have a look at that again. Nice steep dumpy wave, but we managed to get a fun ride out of it because of the technique that I used. The difference between a good instructor and a great instructor is their ability to run a good lesson in tricky conditions. Now, let's talk about some strategies for handling multiple students in the water. It's really important that you adopt the approach to holding their boards and getting students to jump on their boards, because a lot of students often can't manage their surfboards in the water, and if you're dragging them out through the waves, it can get them into a bunch of fun waves, give them a comfortable experience. With most students returning to the surf school being an indication that you've run a good lesson and they've had a good time. Wave selection is another extremely important thing to consider when instructing and teaching lessons. Like I said before, a good instructor can make a great lesson happen in really challenging conditions. Notice the small slopey wave I picked for Marley, and this steeper wave I implemented the bodyboard technique before letting go, just to avoid or make sure we avoid a nosedive. One last strategy I want to discuss is how to manage multiple students in the water with varying levels of confidence or ability. With really large groups of students, 10, 15, 20, we often line them up on the beach, have around 3 to 4 instructors, and have one instructor taking 2 students out at a time. This approach allows us to have a lot of students getting a lot of waves without the danger of 20 surfboards in the water at once. When managing 2 students in the water, there's a few important things you need to consider. Student confidence, the size of the waves, and are you physically capable of managing 2 students in the water without getting anyone wiped out too badly? One really important strategy that I usually use is I'll take one really confident kid and another kid that is lacking confidence. The reason why we have this approach is we push the more confident kid into the water or into the wave first, and then we can bodyboard or pick a nice and easy wave for the kid with less confidence. This way, you can always have control of the kid without the confidence, and you know the person with more confidence will be managing their board better on the inside. This approach applies very well to mixed adult groups with kids and adults, or even just mixed ability and confidence groups in the beginner level. Thanks so much for watching, and keep tuned for more instructor, beginner and advanced surf tutorials.